We've got a name for these people. They're called corporate koalas. They're a protected species, and they are politically very, very well looked after. But it doesn't mean they can do the job they're being paid to do.
Hey, Marty, I'm Leon. I'm a mid-level leader in the cybersecurity industry. And I've been in situations where someone senior to me is clearly not delivering. Everyone can see it. But these people are untouchable because of their relationships at the top, which is especially frustrating when you've got to depend on these people to get your own job done. My question is, how can you build and drive accountability upwards when the person above you is protected by politics and has become an expert at avoiding consequences? I've tried asking them directly for help on specific things and trying to get them to agree to clear accountability. But these people are really experienced at deflecting any responsibility and nothing ever sticks. They're like gold medalists in the corporate Teflon Olympics. What should I do, Marty?
Great question, Leon. I tell you what, I can just imagine like 100,000 listeners frantically nodding their heads while you're going through this. It's a common thing, right? You know, I was talking this morning about the Peter Principle. The Peter Principle is getting promoted to a level of incompetence where you rest there forever because you've just gone one level above where you were at least competent and useful.
Yep.
And this is where a lot of people end up, right? It's not a bad principle. So when you talk about people who are more senior, do you mean hierarchically above you in your reporting line, or do you just mean people who've been around for longer, who are older, who are opinion leaders, who have the lay of the land and, you know, a level of protected status because of their tenure?
Yeah, it's often not people I directly roll up to, but people in sort of adjacent business units where, you know, and that, as you say, you know, sevens high, fives high, threes, right? They seem to have stacked their team with low performers who won't take a run at them in, you know, as individuals after their jobs. And everyone knows that whole business underperforms. Everyone knows who the issue is. Nothing ever seems to happen about it. And that's a real challenge when you've got to rely on cross-functional divisions to get your own work done. And I've seen this pattern a couple of times. And as you mentioned, there's probably others who have been in similar experience. How do you do that without becoming the person who just lobs grenades at them and, you know, all of a sudden those relationships they have, the friends in high places, start to make your own tenure uncomfortable?
Yes, Leon. Well, we've got a name for these people. They're called corporate koalas. They're a protected species, and they are politically very, very well looked after. But it doesn't mean they can do the job they're being paid to do. And so from a peer level, if you're not in their direct line of control, it's very, very difficult to influence. So there's a bunch of techniques that I use, which are, you know, a little bit trial and error-ish. So some things will work really well in one situation, not in another. So let me just run through a couple of options with you.
Yeah.
The number one thing is that you shouldn't rescue them or their team. And what I see very, very frequently is a leader who is actually really good at their job, committed to the outcomes, and working feverishly to get the result. When the peer group don't deliver, or teams that aren't directly in the line of control, they try and overcompensate. They overfunction for them. They pick up accountabilities that should belong in the other team. They drag them into their own team. That is a disaster waiting to happen. You're on an absolute hiding to nothing if you do that.
Yep.
And the reason is that people will see that you're taking on their work and they'll go, oh, well, this is good. Like Leon's going to do my work for me. How good is this? Happy days.
Yep.
If it goes well, then they'll be the first one to step in and take the credit for it.
Yep.
If it goes badly, they'll say, well, I had it all under control until Leon interfered, and look what happened. You cannot win that one. It is just a disaster waiting to happen. The trouble is, because you are diligent and corporate-minded and you're trying to create value for the company and trying to get the right result, you're going to go over and above.
Yep.
The person who's not delivering, no one ever sees that. There's no visibility of that. So unless you let those people fall over and be exposed for their lack of diligence and lack of commitment and lack of delivery, nothing will change. And they'll be telling the same story to their boss. Sometimes all these people can do is manage upwards. That's their core skill.
Yep.
All they do is manage up. And so they'll be managing up happily, probably putting a few knives in your back on the way through, and you're left holding the hand. So that was, have you seen that before? Have you done that before? Like where you've stepped in to try and rescue someone and it's worked out poorly?
Yeah, when you just want the result, you don't think about how someone could come back at you and just wreck everything. And I think as leaders who want to do the right thing, I think you often fall into that trap of, well, I'm not going to, crash the plane with no survivors. I'm going to try and save this. And guess what? No good deed goes unpunished.
That's exactly right. No, you don't want to crash the plane with no survivors. However, until the failure in the delivery chain becomes obvious, nothing will ever be different.
Yep.
And so you'll always be under pressure. They'll always be protected. And anything that goes wrong is always going to be your fault. So you've got to actually change the game and change the dynamic if you want anything to be different with that individual who's riding on, good luck and a smiling face.
Yep.
So that's the first thing is about what you don't do. You don't intervene. The second thing is the escalation point. And this is quite tricky because knowing when to escalate, using your judgment as to when the appropriate time is to escalate and what's important enough to escalate takes a fair bit of getting used to and a fair bit of trial and error.
Yep.
So with the escalation piece, a couple of rules. I would always use a soft escalation first. So if I'm not getting what I want, if I'm having a one-on-one with my boss, I'll just use a very soft escalation technique. So what I'll say is, and this is at the end of the meeting, like we've done all our hard business. At the end of the meeting, I'll say, hey, look, I don't want you to respond to this. I just want to let you know what's going on. I'm currently having trouble getting Leon to deliver. Sorry, mate, had to throw you in there. I'm currently having trouble getting Leon to deliver. I don't want you to intervene, like I've got this, but just so you know, I'm hitting a roadblock here and it could escalate. It could become an issue further down the track. I just want you to have that in the back of your mind. Leave it with me. I've got it covered.
Yep.
So what you've done is you've given your boss a heads up that there is an issue. You've asked your boss not to intervene, but like most bosses, they can't help themselves. They'll have to do something or say something. They'll have to take some sort of action to satisfy themselves of what's going on. And so you can expect that there might be some level of intervention, not a lot. And if anything comes back, you can say quite clearly, well, hey, sorry, Leon, but I told my boss not to do anything. I've got this covered. I was just giving a status report.
Yeah.
So that's the soft escalation technique works as an interim measure. It's not going to fix the problem, but it's going to set the scene for you. If you do in the future beyond that, need to intervene and need to escalate, then there's a technique for that as well. Never escalate without the knowledge of the person that you're escalating the issue about.
Yep.
That will kill trust. It'll set you up a political enemy that you won't have the wherewithal to fight against because they do it for a living. You're just delivering value and they're being political animals. So you can't beat them at that game. That's what they do. That's what they're good at. So the way to do this is to have a conversation with them after your, no doubt, many conversations where you've expressed the fact that they're not delivering what you need and what they've committed to. This is getting out of control. You're starting to affect our ability to deliver. And I've been as patient as I can, and I've given you as much latitude as you've asked for. But I can't keep doing that forever because I'm not going to meet my deliverables. So I've got to escalate that to my boss. Now, I get that you've got different KPIs and your boss is giving you different marching orders. That's fine. Can we go and talk to my boss because we've got to break this deadlock? Like, I think it's important enough for you to do. You don't because you're getting a different message. Let's just get this resolved once and for all. So number one, you've said, okay, no more Mr. Nice Guy, I'm going to escalate. Number two, you've actually invited them into that conversation so they can actually be represented there.
Yep.
And I reckon, 60, maybe 70% of the time, when you say that, they'll go, oh, okay, Leon, well, mate, I'll do it for you. Just give me another week. They'll actually capitulate when they're faced with the spectre of you escalating to your boss. And quite often they'll say, mate, go and do your worst. I'm not coming with you. Your problem, you sort it out. Like sometimes you'll get that. So this is why I say there's a bit of trial and error and sometimes it works better than others. But it's one of the few techniques that I've seen have really good effect when working with someone who is seemingly untouchable in a peer role that's not delivering what you need.
Love it, Marty. That's awesome. No, I wish I had that in the tool bag back when I was last dealing with that situation, but really helpful going forward. So thank you so much.